Hey, it's that time again. 6 p.m. Sunday. Welcome to Steve's Place. Tonight we have a very interesting guest coming, but it will be later. In the meantime, I got to get some housekeeping out of the way. I want to remind everybody that we still have uh, our, our videos from last year still available. Just go to our website at TeslaTech.info and click on the banner there, and it will take you to how to, and you'll be able to order those for $99 for the whole set, with the access immediate. For those of you who are trying to save a penny or two, we'll be putting them up on YouTube here, and when we do the YouTube, it's gonna be members only. I'm only gonna put up 2 a month, you know. Um, and how to will also be handling the 2025. We'll be starting to sell those soon as well. And that brings me up to the 2025 conference. Okay, it's going to be August 6th to 10th at the Crown Plaza Hotel. For those of you who haven't been there before, it's a pretty nice place. It's well, from what we're getting for it's a steal. The rates are $119 for 2 people, 1 to 2 people this year, but that includes breakfast. Okay, and so it's quite the bargain. You're going to save a lot of money if you stay at the hotel. It helps us out, helps you out. Plus, we have a lot of evening stuff going on. Every evening we have like a social event, whether it be like a chicken bar, or, or a taco bar or whatever. We'll be doing this every night, and it goes for quite a long time. I mean, some of these guys, they go all night, and then they have to get up in the morning to get to breakfast and drag themselves into the first talk. And we're all set up classroom style, so you can just go grab your meal and walk in there and go from there. For those of you who want to make a comment, let's see here. It's just there's our caller hotline for our StreamYard. If you want to be on the show tonight, later on, tonight's guest will be Alan Casperski. He's a member of Psychotronics. The Psychotronics is having their conference in Chicago, incidentally at a Crown Plaza Hotel. So Crown Plazas are a really nice hotel, and like I say, if you're when you stay at these hotels, you need to be a member. And in this case, it's a member of IHG. You get points for when you spend the night at the hotel, and those points add up, and you can use those points later on to stay at other hotels, in the IHG chain, which is the Crown Plaza, and then I think Holiday Inn is also on that and everything. Okay, and then I'd like to encourage everyone to become a member of YouTube. Like I said earlier, the YouTube is going to have we're going to be putting our 2024 videos up there. I'm only going to put like one every other week. It's going to be 2 a month. But there will be members only, so you got to be a member. It's $9.99 to be a member of YouTube. I can't encourage you enough to become a member of YouTube of our channel, because it really helps us out. And if you don't want to be a member, I have over 1,500 videos up there, which a couple hundred are free. Just become a subscriber, and when you're a subscriber, make sure you indicate that you want to be notified. And every time we put up a video, it will announce who the video is, and you have an idea what's going up there. and you won't miss anything. So, anyway, we're going to have a late start with Alan. He'll be here later on. In the meantime, uh, I want to address a little thing that's near and dear to my heart, and that's our programs. We're going to be getting these programs from the printer, and we'll be looking for people to distribute them. Like if you know about 20, 25 people you can send them to, let me know, and I'll send off a batch to you. Okay? And so let's see what else we got going on. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if anyone. I want to remind everyone, if you plan on flying, you need to get your real ID done. Okay. I'm thinking about going to Chicago, but unfortunately, my significant other, Michelle, she won't be able to fly, so I'll probably have to drive if I do it. They're really getting strict on that, and like I say, I've had mine for years, and so I'll get your real ID taken care of. And if anyone's trying to get online here, you need to go to and use Chrome is the best browser to use for this stuff. Today at church was kind of interesting because our pastor was talking about this AI stuff, and how AI, they now have a version of AI that's, they say, has a tendency to blackmail. They didn't know why anyone would want AI if it's going to blackmail you, and he said everything I have to say about it, about how AI is unreal. You don't want to be involved with AI. Don't you guys watch Terminator or something? That's where the end result is. Or last night I was watching iRobot, and for those of you who don't realize it yet, Vicky is AI, pure and simple. So anyway, you got to be watching out for the AI stuff. I try to avoid it. If I detect an AI, I'm getting ready to do the magazine again soon, and when I do, I'll be looking for articles. But if people send me on this AI stuff, you can go ahead and keep it. I don't trust AI. You can't really. It doesn't verify its own work, and it's just having problems across the board. The courts hate it because these AI briefs are full of misinformation and made up facts. So anyway, I just rather not do it. If I detect AI, I'm not going to use AI. I think I can write well enough on my own. It really upsets me, when I go to write something, and then what happens is the AI is trying to outthink you, and instead of spending your time having to go back over it and really watch what you're doing. I hate the fact that you have no real choice about it. It's embedded in everything nowadays. You go to fill out a form, it's trying to pre-fill it out for you. Well, I don't need something to pre-fill things out for me. It's just a pain in the butt. And Crypto wrote in here, AI needs to be taken out of all military applications. Well, I agree with that. Because what AI will do is not only the military applications, but also our government. It's bad enough if you have to give the government all your information through the IRS or through the Social Security and through the healthcare. But for all these people to have access to it, it's obscene. It's like we're being watched everywhere you go. It's a real danger here, a very real danger. Yeah, here's the one. Even doctors are using AI now. AI is no good. AI is the most dangerous thing I can think of. And unfortunately, my monitor went out yesterday, and I had to go get a new one. Normally, I try to get. I use a TV set, these LED TVs, so you can have a big picture and everything. Um, and the first one I had that was a 32-inch was a smart TV. And then it all of a sudden, after about 2 years of use, all of a sudden it wanted to tell me what my source was instead of listening to me what I'm using for a source. So I had to go buy one. I had to get a dumb TV, because who wants your TV to be smarter than you? So I got rid of the smart TV, and then yesterday I was forced to go buy another TV. uh, and I would rather not have a smart TV, but here I am. I'm back with a smart TV again. We'll see how long this lasts. Um, and I think the reason it went out is because of the LED things went out on us. Because if I hold my phone flashlight on, I could see the stuff in the background. I just couldn't get to show up. So I'm going to see if I can't get that fixed. Then I'll have two screens, and then I can really do some fancy stuff on this show here. If I get a new computer. Okay, we may be moving. That's the other thing I want to do. I'm trying to get moved out of here. I don't know how soon it's going to happen. It'd be great if it was in the next 30 days here. This town is getting too hot. Unfortunately, a lot of places don't believe in global warming. In Phoenix, they do. In Phoenix, what they're doing in some areas, they're painting the roads with this like a light gray paint, and what they're finding, and it's supposed to insulate the ground, to keep the ground from getting so hot, and then at night it prevents the ground heat from being released into the air. So you're about 20 degrees cooler in the areas where they have that. We have a big problem with heat islands right now. The heat islands are formed throughout the Southwest, but it is what it is. Okay, and we're still waiting for our guest. There you go. When AI is being programmed used to kill humans, we're breaking the cardinal rule number one, and it makes kind of inevitable when AI grants sentience. Well, Crypto, I hate to tell you this, they addressed that on iRobot because the AI determined that it needed to kill humans for the greater good of humans. So that's its way around the third law of or the first law of robotics. That Isaac Asimov laid out. For robots and that, you can't believe it. And let's see what else I got going on here. Oh yeah, I don't know if any of you noticed, but on your date thing on the right-hand corner of your Windows screen, there'll be like a time and a date. And it used to be you click on that, it would bring up a calendar. But now, I guess Windows, in its infinite wisdom, decided they're not going to no longer support that. So that is gone, and I'm not sure it's probably on Windows 11. That's what they're trying to do, is make us go over to Windows 11. So that would be another thing that they're trying to impose on us. And let's see. Oh yeah. Okay, we got the next month. You're having the Psychotronic conference is next month. It's going to be July 17th July to July 20th. For those of you who are in Chicago or are looking for another conference to go to, um, I will probably be an affiliate. Think they're going to do a live stream on it. You know, you just can't get enough sources. There used to be a lot of sources of conferences, but these days, it seems like live conferences are few and far between. And so I encourage you to go to all of them that you can do. When you go to a conference, one of the great things about conferences, you get to meet people. And our society um, has taken and isolated itself. We're all isolating now, and that's dangerous. Uh, that's how they take over things. They isolate you, and you don't have no friends, or you think you have no friends. And you live in this screen here. And going to a conference breaks that out of the thing. And breaks out of the mode there, and you can actually see people face to face, talk to them, shake their hands, break bread with them. We try to make ours the most affordable conference out there. To go to our conference, but right now, and I will continue this till next Sunday, be 30% off. I mean, you can't beat that. That drops the price down from like $450 down to $300. And we're a 4-day event, so you're going to see a lot of stuff there in 4 days. And then the hotel at 119. Okay, call it 120. That's about another $600, let's say. So you're looking at $1,000. Okay, you're not going to have to worry about food because the hotel provides it with the room, and I'm providing it in the evening. So the only thing you're on the hook for would be lunch. And I'm working with the hotel. I'm trying to get them to get like $10 specials. That's my goal. And so it's a very affordable one. And so I don't know. You go to these other ones, they not only have these outrageous prices, a lot of them do, but they also turn around and they charge you for everything. Oh yeah, and then the DVDs are separate. We're going to have DVDs available at the conference for those of you who want to get DVDs. A lot of you guys are buying DVDs and being part of the live stream. So anyway, let me bring up Alan. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
And then do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Alan Casperski. I'm a 30-plus year member of the United States Psychotronic Association, and I have a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Cleveland State, and I have several patents on various energy devices that I've been interested in over the years that I've learned through groups like Psychotronics and Steve Ellswick's groups. I used to go to the New Energy conferences, the New Science conferences, Global Science conferences. If anybody recalls those old conferences, so I'm here to talk about the 50th anniversary conference of the USPA, United States Psychotronic Association. We've been away a few years because of that COVID fiasco, and this is our 50th anniversary. So we figured let's do a live conference and see how many people we can get to come and share our knowledge and experience. So let's see. What I want to talk about, or did you have any questions, Steve, before I get started?
I'm getting ready to bring your slide up.
Okay. So the first slide is
Do this.
Tom Bearden. And Tom Bearden is probably the first book I read, the Excalibur briefing, that introduced me to all these conferences. So I used to, when I was a youngster, I used to hang out at the local library because it was air conditioned in the summertime. And I read all kinds of books. I found, that section in every library that has all the books on psychics and UFOs and strange phenomena and things like that. So I came across, let me change the slide here, this book, the 1980 version of Excalibur Briefing by Thomas E. Bearden. And this book really changed my life because it was a complete survey from A to Z of all the strange phenomenon, psychic phenomenon, UFO phenomenon, mind over matter phenomenon, psychotronics, radionics. It's all in that one book. And somewhere in the back of that book, it mentioned the Chicago-based USPA, which at the time was run by Bob Ulick. So I called up. I guess there was a phone number or an address. I called up. Bob answered the phone. I said, is this the conference where I can meet all those unusual researchers? He said, sure. And he also said there was a local chapter in my then city of Cleveland, Ohio, where I grew up. And this was 1989. So I joined that Zenith chapter in Cleveland, Ohio, in 1989. And then when I was there for a few months, they said, oh, there's an annual national conference. I said, wow, that sounds great. So the next year, 1990, was my first conference. It was in Atlanta. I'll never forget. An incredible show, all these amazing speakers. And that's kind of how I got started in all this. And then I volunteered my time, and I was a volunteer every year. And I ran the audio video platform and supervised all of their recordings back then. And now I'm on the board of directors of Psychotronics. I don't know for how long, but we've transitioned in the past few years to only virtual podcasts, no live conferences for a few years. So we're going to try it again this third weekend of July this year. I'll be there in north of Chicago. The city is Crystal Lake. It's about an hour north of Chicago, and we're hoping to get a big turnout. So when I joined this group, I thought, well, I want to get a job as an engineer working for one of these scientists on one of these crazy projects. This to me was like the ultimate job. So I asked pretty much everyone there who said they had a research project, could I get on this project somehow? Oh, sure, Al. As soon as there's funding. Well, guess what? There was never any funding. Never had any funding. It's like, the funding will be there tomorrow. Never any money, for all the stuff that I wanted to do. So after years went by, I kind of narrowed my research to let's call the niches in alternative energy. So when I say the words alternative energy, of course, people think of wind and solar. Well, that wind and solar to me are standard energy. That's not alternative energy. For many reasons, I could take an hour to go into. If tomorrow every vehicle on the road and on the water was electric powered, there's no way with wind and solar those vehicles could ever stay on the road. They're just not enough energy. And of course, wind and solar are cyclic energy output, goes up and down. And what we need is is, of course, continuous output for the grid. And the only way you can achieve that is some kind of buffer, which let's say could be batteries, and that's a whole nother can of worms there. And so, speaking of batteries, let me transition into batteries because I hold several patents on what I think are the best battery chargers on the market. We're, of course, been trying to get a hold of Elon Musk for some time. He hasn't called me back yet. I wonder why. But I have a battery charger with patents. Let me see. So actually, okay, I misspoke. Before we go into the chargers, I'm going to go into Patrick Flanagan, because Patrick Flanagan was also, I researched him at the same time as I did Tom Bearden, maybe even a little bit before. He wrote a book called Pyramid Power, Beyond Pyramid Power, Water, The Elixir, The Ageless, and a few other books. He's no longer with us, but he really inspired me. And he had a device, which again was mentioned in the book Excalibur Briefing by Tom Bearden, called the Neurophone. And he said, Patrick Flanagan now invented this when he was a kid in the 60s. He said using a tube radio transmitter circuit and some insulated electrodes that he put on the temples of his head, he was able to hear music in his skull bypassing the ears. Okay. This is not bone conduction. So I was always interested in sound, high fidelity sound. I also designed speakers and amplifiers. So this really intrigued me. You know, could I hear high fidelity sound in my head without going through the ears? Could this perhaps help the deaf? Well, Flanagan claimed it did. He claimed he got his patent, I think it was in 1968 or something like that, by putting the device on a deaf patent examiner, and the patent examiner heard music for the first time in his life, and he as the story goes, he was granted that first patent. Of course, that was an old tube circuit, and then skipping forward to the 70s, Patrick Flanagan started selling these neurophones. I think they're like a lot of money, like $1,500. And they were basically a box filled with a bunch of. He switched from tubes to transistors at that time. I got a hold of one and I tested it. It worked okay, not the best. So at the time, I was working at Reliance Electric and had access to a lot of electronics, a lot of electronic test equipment, and I came up with a particular integrated circuit that was normally used as a switching power supply controller. And I adapted that for use in a neurophone circuit. So I took this, and what's nice about it is it's very cheap. It's like $2 for this integrated circuit. And I connected it to piezoelectric discs, you could buy them online. They call them a buzzer. It's a piece of brass with a thin ceramic piezo with two terminals on it attached, and you connect this to the all digital chip, and you modulate it with audio sound, and you put it on the temples of your head, and guess what? You can hear sound in your head bypassing your ears. This is a picture of what he was selling. This is a few generations old, but it's not that old. I'd say this one was about 10 years old. But you could see the discs, and it's a very small battery powered box, and you would plug your audio input into this, and you could hear sound in your head. And it's, I can go on and on about the applications, sleep learning, accelerated learning, improvement in your hearing if you're hard of hearing. It it sometimes can, because the way it stimulates your nerves. And so what Flanagan found out was this stimulates the not the auditory nerve, which is hooked to your eardrum, your ears, but a brain organ called the saccule, which is kind of like our ancestral lizard brain, our secondary brain. Anyway, I can demonstrate with a single piezo ceramic disc. I could put it on anyone's head or chest or even their arm, just at the base of their bicep, and they will hear sound in your skull, in your head, nothing going through the ears. And me and Eldon Bird, another long-term member of Psychotronics, who's no longer with us, we patented this thing together, and that patent number, there it is, 6064329, myself and Eldon Bird. And you could see the power supply control chip over there and a few transistors. And it doesn't show the piezo ceramic transducer because this was a slightly different application that Eldon Bird wanted. But it's the same exact circuit. You just put the standard piezo transistors on there. It costs $1 off of eBay, and hook it up to your head. Put 1 volt audio signal into the input, and you'll hear sound inside your head. Okay, so moving on. So that was my first patent. Looks like it says May 16th, 2000. The next patent, then I turned to battery charging because, let me change the slide here. John Bedini. So John Bedini was another big-time inventor, friend of Tom Viardin, been to all the conferences. You may be familiar with this famous schoolgirl generator, motor generator. And he claimed he could charge batteries. He claimed he could charge larger batteries than it took to power the machine. So in other words, he claimed he could take a small battery, put it through this machine that you see there, and charge a large battery. Not only that, he claimed that the larger the batteries on the output, the more efficient this machine was. Well, I had to look into this. I said, I got to know if this is real or not. And so I met another guy. I think I'll leave his name out for now, but let's just say he's another inventor, just like John Bedini, but he's in another city. And I started working with him because it turned out he knew John Bedini, and he had built like a dozen of these type machines that you see in the picture. And he claimed they all work. I said, wow, okay. But I looked at it and I said, this is not a product. This is a high school experiment. It looks nice. And any industrious person could build it. But I said, let's try to turn this into a product and see if we can sell it. Let's just see what happens. Okay, so anyone who knows anything about turning inventions into patent and into products, you have to have a patent, you have to have a corporation. And you have to have a circuit design that will fit in a very small package. And so I came up with that circuit design. We hooked up with some companies, and we did get several patents. And let me see if, okay. So this is the first one, looks like 2022. And this is what I call the non-isolated charger. If you do your research on patents, John Bedini has a very similar circuit that he patented, but is now expired. Of course, unfortunately, John Bedini is no longer with us either. As far as I know, no one's really mass producing this thing. but it can be made on a very small circuit and turn into a product. So, and I'm not saying that this product is on the market yet, but we are trying. We got another patent a couple years later. Let's see. This one here, this looks 2024, looks like. This is the same circuit, but it's isolated. So the difference between a non-isolated and an isolated circuit is the isolated circuit the output being isolated. You can charge a stack of batteries in series. Okay, so you'd have the idea is you want to build the charger into the battery itself. Okay, now so I'm not talking little tiny 18650 lithium batteries. I'm talking like large 50, 100 amp hour batteries. Did I do that? Uh-oh. Sorry about that. Okay, back here. Still talking about batteries. So batteries. Okay, so with the isolated charger, the advantage is you can charge as many batteries in series because batteries have a low voltage. Electric vehicle motors have a high voltage, so you need a bunch of batteries in series. So normally when you charge batteries in series, you have a balancing problem. Okay, so I'm not going to go deep into that, but you have to add a whole nother circuit just to balance the charge on the batteries, or else one gets charged more than the other and they end up burning out. So this idea kind of eliminates that because if you put an isolated charger in each, say 50 or 100 amp hour battery cell, and you have like 48 of these in series, you can charge all of them with the same parallel bus, and they're automatically balanced. And that's really all I want to say about that. I do want to ask if anyone out there has serious interest in helping me bring this to market. I set up a special email that you could write me to, and it is AJK Consulting 1 at outlook.com. AJK Consulting 1 at outlook.com. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And the next thing I've been interested for since the 1980s was this guy, Joseph Wesley Newman, who had, he's known for these gigantic multi-ton coils of wire making up his so-called energy machine, which was a motor, very large, slow-moving motor. And he made some tall claims. He said it was way over unity. He challenged anyone to prove him wrong. So he got lots of attention from news people, who brought their own physicists, engineers. They brought their own equipment. They tested it over and over again. They all scratched their heads because this thing worked. I mean, you can measure like 10 times more mechanical power output than electrical power input, which is what Joe Newman claimed all along. He never did get a patent on it. If you want to know the details, you should watch this documentary by a friend of mine, the director. I knew the director, John Fox, when he was making this in New York City. And I think it won some kind of award. It's a really good documentary. I own a copy of it because Joe died shortly, either before or after this, but he's no longer with us. And so I'm just going to give you, and so my work on it all these years has been to figure out scientifically using engineering terms how and why this thing is over unity. Is it some mysterious 0-point energy, some unknown power source? Well, I found the answer to that was no. It's absolutely conventional. In other words, I'm stating now for the record, it is possible, depending on how you construct the geometry of the motor, to make an ordinary motor using ordinary magnets, ordinary wire, ordinary electricity over unity. That is possible. And if you come to the Psychotronics Conference in Crystal Lake this summer, I will give you the equations because I have them. I found them. And to me, that's a big deal because I've been working on this for so many years, and I'm going to give that away. But you got to show up to the conference. I'm not going to give it away now. And so this is sort of an artist drawing of a very simplified version of what Newman's motor is. So you have a shaft that runs right through the coil cylinder, and it doesn't show, but there's bearings on that, so it can spin in the direction of the arrows pointing. That little 9-volt battery is there because he used to run his 5-ton machine on 9-volt batteries, on dead 9-volt batteries. It's absolutely amazing. It ran this thing with high torque. And so those two black cylinders in the middle there are the north and south pole magnets, and they just spin round and round. And he claimed that the secret was the gigantic coil. He claimed the larger the coil was, the more efficient it is, and I have verified that both experimentally and mathematically. It's absolutely true. And I wish that people will study this and start building their own as soon as possible. Let's see. Okay, these are just examples of, there's two kinds of motors, not AC and DC, but the so-called Faraday type motors. These are Faraday motors. So these motors, these are the ones that run your drones. And they have permanent magnets, and they have stationary coils, and one pole attracts the other. Okay, so the equations for this motor are different than Joe Newman's motor. Okay, you cannot get over unity by putting longer and longer wire on this type of motor. I just want to make that crystal clear. I thought you could at one time, but no, you cannot. You could, when you change the length of the wire on this type of motor, all you're changing is the operating voltage, not the efficiency. However, I get a picture. Yeah, I'm sure we all should know what this is. It's a loudspeaker. A loudspeaker is called a Lorentz motor. It's not a Faraday motor. It does not have pole-to-pole attraction. It has pole to electric current and coil attraction. So in this motor, in a loudspeaker, that is, this coil, you put your power amplifier with your music into that coil, and the current creates a force at right angles to the direction of the magnetic field. So you see the north poles in the center, the two south poles are on the ends, and so the right angle to that is in and out, or up and down, and that vibrates the cone and you get sound. But that's a linear motor. Okay, we want a rotating motor, and that's what Joe Newman did. So that's all I'm going to say about that right now. That was my last slide. I just wanted to mention some other projects that I'm working on right now. Is a sound bed. So I'm going to have a water mattress, because water gives you the best acoustic coupling to your body. You lay on a water mattress, and below that will be a loudspeaker type suspension. It'll be on a spring. So the mattress supported by a piece of plywood. I have two special tactile transducers underneath it, which will vibrate your body. And I have two so we can do different stereo modulations and I can't wait to build that. And the last thing I want to mention is my goal has always been to build what I call a little toy motor generator that does nothing but power one LED light bulb forever. And I want to sell this to high school kids so that they know it's possible before they get to college and their brains get all scrambled. And so I'm working on that. And that's my presentation.
Well, thanks for coming. I found it very interesting, and a lot of the people that you mentioned, well, all of them, I know.
Yeah.
I probably even know the one that you didn't mention. The
Who's that?
one name you went down release with a Houdini motor.
Who's that?
He didn't say. He was in a different city though.
Oh,
So yeah, I probably know because, like I say, every one of these people I've had interaction with,
right.
And I think all of them just about spoke at my conference. And Joe Newman came to my conference a couple of times.
Right. I saw him there.
And he had that one guy. Was it Soule?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, he's like
Right.
he's almost like a carnival guy, with the hat and everything, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Slam man.
Yeah.
So
Those are fun times years ago.
they still are. They still can be. We got a lot of new people starting to get involved. I'm hoping to get a lot of young people involved. This year, Crypto Alchemist is going to be at our conference, and he's out of Canada, and he's really into alchemy. Okay, and here's some questions. Well, first though, before that, someone asked, "How do you get hold of the old videos from Psychotronics?"
Yeah. Right. So if you go to psychotronics.org, we have spent years compiling. We have audio only recordings that go back to 1978, and we have videos from about somewhere in the 1980s up to the present, and they're all for sale at a reasonable price, and they're just available on the website.
Okay, and also on your comments and on Steve's place, for your banner there, I also put down the where to go for the conference. Okay, the Psychotronics conference.
Good.
And I hope to be affiliate and I can help them get
Yeah.
some people there.
Mhm.
But anyway, let's get on with some questions here. Here's
Sure.
Paul. He's asking, are neurophones available?
Okay, so I don't sell any, but now Patrick Flanagan, who passed away, but you could still buy them online. Just type in Neurophone, or there used to be a neurophone.com site. I bought mine online. I'm sure they're available on eBay or Amazon or something. But yes, you can buy those. There are quite a few of those made over the years.
Okay, and then there you go. What is your take on the oft-mentioned med bed?
Well, that's one thing I'm working on. I call it a sound bed because I don't want to use any medical claims. Although I believe, my belief is that anything can be affected with sound. I think better than electromagnetics, for the simple reason that sound actually penetrates all the way to the nucleus of the atom. Not many people are aware of that, whereas the electron shell basically acts as a Faraday shield for most electromagnetics, and so if you know anything about Tom Bearden's work, he always stressed the time reverse wave phase conjugate optical healing took place in the nucleus. So what I'm going to do is in my version. So this is my version of the so-called med bed. Um, it's going to have sound vibration, and the bed itself will be inside a large Egyptian structured pyramid, and I'm going to experiment with lots of different frequencies. I mean, there have been researchers over the years like Sherry Edwards and many others that slip my mind right now that have found all kinds of specific sound frequencies that affect the body, affect healing, and I think the best way to introduce that to the body is through a waterbed coupling.
Okay, here you go. Great job, Al. Speaking of sound systems, do you have any recollections of Preston Nichols you can share with the group?
Yeah, I sure do. But I'd have to refer. There's so much to say. I'd have to refer you to a talk I did that's available on the Psychotronics website. I did a whole hour on Preston Nichols and Guy Obelinsky, two scientists I've worked with for like 30 years. Or, and I'll give you one fact. So somewhere like in 1993 or so, when Preston lived at Islip, Long Island, me and Al Rode, my friend, went to his house, Preston's house. We got into his van that was filled with like CIA radio equipment and antennas and stuff like that. It was packed with it. Took us out to Montauk Point, and I took his directional antenna. I pointed directly at the 300-foot, abandoned radar dish, and I'm getting a strong signal, over 400 megahertz. Definitely coming from that dish. It's active. And then I scanned around, because when you're at the point there, you see the lighthouse, and then there's some government-owned islands offshore. So I'm scanning around offshore, let's say almost due east at the point, and I get the same signal that I got off of the abandoned radar dish coming from some government island. So there's stuff going on out there. And when you talk to the descendants of the Native Americans who were there at the time, they said, "Oh yeah, we know there's an underground base there, and it's Preston was well known to them, and they've known it for years." So if you want to see more, go watch my talk at psychotronics.org.
I know. I used to sell this video about Montauk.
Yeah.
When I was with the society and that,
Mm-hmm.
and the first time I saw Preston was in 1984 at the first Tesla conference.
Right.
And Colorado College, and he had all this equipment in his room, and all these guys were up there, trying to feel the scalar wave energy coming off of it and everything.
Yes.
Yeah. He was quite the character,
He was.
Yeah. Like I say, I think everyone should go to these conferences. I mean, you meet people, you have experiences, and when you leave this planet, that's all you got. Really, I think that you can take with you is the experience. So yeah.
The more conferences you can go to, the better.
Yeah. And here's Reed. Said, "Hi, Alan. In several years, you never told me you were an inventor. We'll be in touch."
Oh, okay.
I think he's still in Phoenix. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to. I'm going to try to make it to the conference.
Well, hope you make it.
Yeah, like I say, well, we have an issue with Real ID, so I would have to drive.
Yeah.
And I've been fighting this Real ID since the 90s when they first proposed it, and I have back issues of extraordinary exotic research, and we covered the Real ID and the dangers with it and everything, and the states have really been fighting it. Then all of a sudden, out of this year, they're really forcing it on us,
They
So,
finally are. Yeah, I'm afraid so.
do or die, I guess, for them.
Yeah,
Personally, I wish it would die.
me too.
I don't. I can't believe this is what year is it now? 2025, and here we are. Can you show me your papers to travel?
You can't travel anonymously anymore.
I'm gonna. I have two options. If I don't fly, it's well three. There's Greyhound,
Right.
and there's Amtrak,
Yeah.
and there's by car.
Right.
If I go by car, I'm thinking about using Enterprise and get one of those. Uh, what do you call the hybrids? Because
Right.
get better mileage in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by using a hybrid, I can save a lot of gas. And if I use like Enterprise or somebody, if I have a breakdown, they just give me another car and I can keep on going. I had that problem when I went to a conference up in Boise. And we get to Utah and the car breaks down. Luckily, it was a rental, and they swapped us out and kept on our way. So if people are interested in traveling, that's one way to go. Do you have any particular favorite people that go into the conference?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I've been there 30 years. It's like a family reunion. These are all my friends that I've learned so much from over the years. I guess I always look forward to my friend, Dr. Glenn Ryan.
Mhm.
We actually work together on some projects now, and Alan Rode, and of course Scott Bulick.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm really thinking about it. The only problem is, it's about. I wish it was 2 weeks earlier because then it wouldn't be so close to mine, and
I know.
the travel wouldn't be so tight. That's the thing.
We've been arguing over what date to have it for years, and no matter what we pick, it always conflicts with something.
Yeah. Well,
I know what you mean.
they usually well, like I say, I've been to quite a few of your psychotronics, so a couple of
Yeah,
times.
you have.
You had them out in Columbus.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, for years in Columbus. Hmm.
Then you had one out here in Laughlin.
Right.
I don't think that they knew how hot it gets here,
Yeah.
but that's because I think Tom was working off of the his experiences with the UFO conferences, and those are in the winter, and
Right.
so it's not hot, But here, whew,
I remember I went to Laughlin. It was like 130 degrees outside, but no humidity. I never experienced that. You don't sweat, but it's 130 degrees. It's crazy. I would not want to do it again, though.
It's like walking into an oven, But I live in
Right.
this stuff.
Yeah.
That's how come I have my conferences in Albuquerque, because when I have them in Albuquerque, it's like 90 was the average temperature at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So 90 versus 130, I don't think there's any comparison. And unfortunately, they give me a couple of days extra for my room, and so I could get out of the heat a little bit longer. So and when I've had them in Phoenix, or when I've had them in Phoenix, I can never get more than 100 people come to the conference. I don't know why. I just can't.
Really?
But Phoenix is just as bad. But Phoenix is starting to do this new thing, is they're painting the roads, with like this gray paint. It's like an insulating paint, light gray.
What?
Oh, it reflects the heat. Okay.
Oh.
But it also insulates the ground. So you don't have the heat being stored in the ground, and what heat is there is not being released all night like it is in a regular city.
Oh.
Yeah. So very smart. I'm impressed.
Hmm.
I hope they do it here in Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get moved out in the middle of nowhere here the next month, because that takes 20 degrees off right there, just being in the middle of nowhere out in the country.
Right. With the trees.
Yeah. So anyway, I hope you can make it down to our conference. I know you'd have a great time. You know, you can't but help have a great time. Like you say, all these conferences are basically family reunions. Did you used to go to Global Sciences?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
I got all the Global Science videos online uh, up on my website. So
Yeah, I want to thank you for all you've been posting lately. It's really helped me a lot. Thank you very much.
it brings back a lot of memories every time I do one. You know, especially if I went to that particular one. You know, but there's nothing that can replace the meetings outside of the meeting space. You know, like you have that where the meetings are and that, but then you have all the meetings going on outside and in the vendor areas, and then at night when you're eating with people, you can't replace that. You know,
You
and
mean those after hours gathering where they have the beer and wine?
oh yeah,
I don't know anything about that.
once that gets flowing, you know, everything starts flowing. You got a real melding
Yeah,
of the minds going
yeah,
on there.
absolutely. Crazy,
It's like,
crazy
oops,
talks.
oops, what did I say? So
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, if there's nothing else, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night. And
Okay.
and next week, well, we'll be posting later on in the emails about what we have next week. Once again, don't forget July 17th for the Psychotronics conference. I followed up in August 6th with the TeslaTech. Come to both of them,
Yes,
or if you can't come to them, at least get the live stream. You know,
absolutely.
and that will help a lot. So anyway, y'all have a great time, and we'll see you next week.